There we go. Hello again, folks, and welcome to another episode of the Atlantic Bushcraft Adventures. This is episode 12. Hard to believe we've been on doing this for 12 weeks now, hasn't it, Ben?
It is hard.
And for those of you that are fairly new to our channel or videos or podcast or whatever we are now calling this grand adventure that we are undertaking, we're planning for a camping trip just coming up this weekend on June, what is that, 8th, 9th?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so. I forgot to look. Yeah, June 8th and 9th. We're actually going to leave on the 7th directly from work. Well, from work, we're going to stop in home, grab our bikes. That's the kind of catch to this. We're going to take our motorcycles to the location we have decided on, and we're going to be staying over on Friday night and Saturday night and returning on Sunday, probably sometime in the afternoonish, I think is what the plan is. And yeah, so we're only going to be able to take the gear that we can fit on the motorcycles, which is a little more challenging for myself. Ben has some soft bags available to him there, which will give him a little bit more room, but still it's kind of a complicated undertaking that we've done so far, Ben. Even with your extra soft bags, would you say that it's been kind of challenging trying to knock everything down to a level where it's easy to travel with on the motorcycle, but still utilitarian enough to have everything that you need for an outing of this kind?
Um, it hasn't been as bad as I thought, honestly, because, and this is what I'm finding, I've gotten everything in my backpack so far, which is the pack I would often take, and it's not completely full, but I haven't loaded food in there, and we still have the camera gear to contend with.
And that's...
So
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I am kind of interested in how that'll affect it. I also have the one extra item I'm taking for you, the underquilt.
And I do appreciate it very much because it's supposed to be fairly cool overnight. It's going to be, I think, a low of 7.
Yes.
But other than that, the weather looks beautiful. I mean, it's not going to be scorching hot, but it's going to be sunny both days. So looking forward to that. That'll be nice to get out in the woods. I know it's supposed to hammer rain tomorrow, but other than that, I think that's just going to set us up for good burning weather, in all honesty, when we get there, so we can have a little campfire to make some tea, coffee, food, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we talked about this last week. If we get off from work, by the time we get home, say we can be on the road by 5, we each have about a 45-minute run. We're hoping 6-ish. We have the bikes parked.
That is the hope, and I timed it last night, and it looked like we had light right through until about 9 o'clock. Technically 9:30, but that's getting real sketchy.
Yeah.
So
tomorrow night, I still won't have the food in the bag because I don't want to do that, but I have to go pick up some of the food that I haven't got yet. I got some of it packed. Mainly like the steak, because we're definitely doing a steak meal.
100%. Yes, I am buying mine tomorrow night as well, same as you. I'm leaving it to the end there. I had one picked out. I ate it. So I'm just going to go get a new fresh one. I'll get one and take it
It
out.
looks so good.
It was delicious. I barbecued it. It was amazing. But yeah, like you, I'm going to take it the night off. That way it's fresh, and I'm not trying to keep it for any extended amount of time.
Yeah. What I've done in the past is pre-froze my meat so that it could last longer. I'm not sure that I need to do that because I think we're hoping to cook that for the first night. So really well refrigerate it. And I grab it out of the refrigerator as soon as I get home, throw it in the bag, strap the bag to the bike. It'll be fairly, yeah.
I can cheat a little bit. About an hour before I'm off work, I'm going to shoot Melissa a text and get her to throw it in the freezer so it kind of parafreezes, but not really freezes solid, to give me a little bit extra, because I don't think I'm going to take a cooler bag beyond just maybe wrapping that piece of meat up in something just to kind of give it a little bit of thermal insulation. I'm really trying to cut down on weight. If anybody has seen my motorcycle, just check my Facebook profile. It's not built for what I'm about to do to it at all.
No, and neither is mine, truly. Like, I have saddlebags and I have a decent rear seat with a small backrest, but I tried like sitting my pack on it, and if I sit it standing up, it's not going to stay standing up. It's going to tip. It's going to fall. I'm going to regret that. So I played around with a few things last night and the night before, and the molly bag I really wanted to take, is just too awkward to sort of fit the bike well. So I'm taking a more traditional, I guess, backpacking. It's a mountaintop from Amazon, and it's tall and thinner, and I'm going to put it crosswise across the bike so that the top and bottom are sitting above my saddlebags. And I think I know how I'm going to strap it down so it can't move. So everything tightened up, all the lines secured. It shouldn't be too bad. I shouldn't have anything flying around, wrapping around chains or spokes or anything silly like that.
I'm just looking over at my bag, and I have a lot of loose straps off it that I'm probably just going to take some black tape and secure
Yeah,
them. But like I showed you before, Ben, it's nice
yeah.
that the shoulder straps, the waist strap, and the sternum strap, they all kind of fold into the back of it. And then there's a flap you can just zipper over it, and it'll hold all those straps in at least. So it's just the additional compression straps that I have to contend with.
So I think they do that for like airports.
Maybe so. It was, and I'll show it to everybody there. This was just a Value Village find for $8, and literally, like, I think you
Yeah.
can see that there, $7.99. It was just one of those fluke things. I was walking by and I was like, "Hey, that is just what the doctor ordered." So I now have that in my arsenal of stuff. Technically, it's Melissa's. I said I bought it for her, but
Yeah, I got two or three similar type purchases I bought on Value Village, flea markets, wherever over the last few years. The airport here in Halifax has these sharp sales
hmm?
auctions. I think it helps support the cathedral or the church in there, and I bought some from there too. So I got a bunch laying around, but I have gone to a newer one just because each of them have tiny little rips and imperfections.
Yeah, and this one here is not 100% perfect, but it is for $8. It's amazingly good shape. But the main point of tonight is we're going to go over some of the gear we are planning to take with us. Last week we talked a little bit about food, so we're not going to beat that dead horse. But we do kind of have our gear shortlisted at this point, to the point where I'm fairly confident 90% of it is definitely coming with me. There may be some last minute switch outs, but I think I got mine hammered down pretty well. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, yeah, mine's pretty good. Now, if anyone's listening and watching and think there's a major omission or that I'm having a complete, how do you say it?
Brain
Brain.
fart?
Yeah, I was trying to think of a different word for it, but yeah, then by all means, share it. Tell me I'm being a fool. But I mean, a large part of this for me is really it appears to be my sleep system for size and bulk. I'd say yours is probably similar.
Very much so. You've seen the wool blanket that I have to contend with. That's probably the largest item I'm going to be taking.
Yeah.
So, hey, David joined us. Hey, Dave, what's up, buddy? And hello, Chris. Already said hi to you, but I'll say hi to you over the voice, if you will, so that our viewers that listen to the podcast can hear it. Both Chris and Dave are, I'm going to say, long-term listeners at this point. They keep coming back for more, anyway. Chris was out catching kayak. Wow. He was out in the kayak catching trout. I was just about to say he was out in the trout catching kayak, but...
Wow. That is impressive stuff there, Chris.
But yeah, so anyway, Ben, why don't you kick us off? Why don't you give us a breakdown of the gear you're thinking of taking? For anybody that was wondering, Ben and I have chatted a little. This, as much as I'd like to say it's a surprise to both of us, it unfortunately does not work that way. We have had some communication. We have shortlisted our gear to make sure that we're not repeating items because we are going on the bikes, once again, the main point of this, and we don't want to be carrying unnecessary bulk.
Yeah, and there's a few items that we'll get to that we've definitely narrowed down. It saves me a fair bit from what I'd often carry. So, yeah, if you want to start off, I got my hammock, so that's comfort, really. I mean, that gives me some protection against the flies, gets me off the ground, away from the moisture. Doesn't take up a ton of room, but it is a relatively bulky item. To go with that, I've got my tarp. They're both one Tigris. I'm not plugging them. It's just something I'm playing with.
Oh, you're
If it,
plugging them if they're willing to send you free stuff.
yes, one Tigris. If you're giving away free gear, I am your man. They have had some awesome deals on Amazon over the last couple of years, and I have picked up some of their stuff. The pack I was going to take was theirs, but it just isn't working for this. I have an underquilt snug pack. Pack's down to probably a little bit smaller than a basketball, bigger than a volleyball. But I've done the windscreens. We've talked about this in the past. This is good comfort. Robert's going to try for the first time, so we're going to get some really good feedback on that on a future show. And that's not it.
Oh, heck no.
I have my sleeping bag, Walmart special. Bought it last January for a winter trip. It alone would not have done us in January. It was a support to the rest of the system. But this time of year, I'm hoping it'll more or less do it. And for safety, sanity, backup, I have the famous double black diamond Costco down blanket. Crushes up to very small, pokes in small corners and stuff, packs well.
Which Ben is going to let me know if it goes on sale again, right, Ben? Yeah.
If I'm sure you want it, I'll pick one up if I see it.
I am 100% sure I want it. If you pick one up, I will forward you the money right away.
The last thing, and this one is kind of up in the air, but honestly, my bony knees are starting to cause me problems. I have a pillow, not so much for my head, but to stick between my legs so that I'm just more comfortable. It may or may not come. Doesn't take up a ton of room, but honestly, it's almost the same size as my tarp. It's almost the same size as my hammock, so it's a questionable one. Crush it down, okay. I'm not sold on it, but it's there. So that's my sleep system. Besides that, there's a change of clothes. I'm not going to get too in detail with that. That may be something we'll talk about some other time, but small 8-liter sack, about half full, so maybe 4 liters. That's a complete change of clothes, some thermal underwear that I'll probably wear at night, and like I said, a change of clothes. May increase the quantity of socks and stuff in there, but other than that, it's pretty stable. Do you want me to continue, or do you want to pick up?
I'll go over my sleep system, I guess, at this point, and then we'll bounce back to you for tools. At this point, I don't have my stuff sack full of clothes here because I gotta wash them. I mean, all joking aside, I live in a world where I wear uniforms for work, and I have realized I have very few clothes of my own. So when they're dirty, they're dirty. But anyway, same kind of deal. I'm gonna have my long underwear, just a full extra set of clothes, and like Ben, I'm probably gonna throw in a couple extra pairs of socks. Just because I'm really big on having dry feet when I'm in the woods, and I'm sure you are too, Ben, with search and rescue. You know, having soggy feet is just the worst for any amount of time. As well as I'll probably throw in a set of wool socks just for sleeping at night as well. Now, getting into my sleep system, much like Ben, I have a sleeping bag, which is actually apart and airing out on my office couch. But I was smart enough to bring the bag, and for anybody listening that may have a little bit of insight on this company, it is called Mountaintops Backpacker, and they claim it's good for +7. Can they see that there, Ben?
Yeah.
So
it's mirror image for me, but
yeah, but it should be right side up for everybody else. Maybe not. I don't know. Anyway, it's good for +7. But the thing is like microscopically thin, so I have my reservations on that. But hopefully it works out. It packs down nice and small. I'm going to give it a go. A lot of my gear, I'm trying some stuff, and maybe I'm going to end up shooting myself in the foot with that. But where Ben's with me, at least I have a buddy backup.
That's the same logo?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, maybe not. Still says Mountaintop, though.
This is my backpack, and it came from Amazon. I think they also go by Marning Top.
Maybe so.
When you go on Amazon, I don't know. It's the same name. The backpack. This is the second one I bought. The first one I bought for my wife. we liked it so much that I bought another one. So
Oh, and that's fair. And I mean the sleeping bag I actually bought off a backpacker. They had never used it, but they said it was a fair amount of money when they originally purchased it, and they purchased it as an ultralight sleeping backpack or sleeping bag. Now I got backpacks on the brain, but anyway, so I'm really hoping it's going to come out well. So that crushes down to literally about the size of a volleyball. Um, the big item for me is my wool blanket. I always like to travel with my wool blanket. This is a D&D over surplus, and I'll probably be cranking that down as tight as I can get it and stuffing it inside another bag that I have over there just for keeping it secure more than anything. So that's my sleep items. I also have, if I don't drop an axe on my foot, if you hear a scream, dial 911. I have my hammock. It's nice and small. And I have actually done a review on this for anybody that watches my Budget Bushcraft channel. I actually really love this backpack for all of the $22 or $23 I spent on it. And I said backpack again, did I not?
you did.
So hammock, I really love this hammock for the money I spent on it. Really recommend it because it was dirt cheap and it's super good quality for the money I spent on it. I also have a brand new tarp that Ben helped me figure out. So we're going to have some fun with this. I normally don't do the whole camping tarp thing. I usually just do the Canadian Tire specials. But I figured, heck, why not? I got this for $50. It was the cheapest, bestest tarp I could find. So anybody that's interested, once again, plug in my own channel, which I hate to do, but shamelessly I will. I'll be doing a review on this with Budget Bushcraft, and hopefully Ben will join me on that, and we can have some opinions on that. And look forward to a more video on that, even on Atlantic Bushcraft as well. And like Ben, I am taking a pillow. Or maybe not like Ben, but anyway, this is a dollar store special. It's one of those self-inflating pillows. And I looked at it in the store, and for what it is, it actually looks pretty good. Like, it looks cheap quality, or sorry, it seemed cheap quality, but once it was blown up, I actually snuggled up to it in the store, which made a lot of people turn heads. But it was pretty friggin' good, man. Like, I can't... That's why I ended up buying one for $4. This is going to be another Budget Bushcraft review, but, I mean, you can't beat a pillow for $4. And then, of course, I have my backup pillow. And it's...
Where did you pick up that one?
That was the dollar store.
Recently?
Yeah, like just a week ago. I was literally walking through looking for stuff to take on this trip that I could do for my other channel there. I was like, holy crap, there's a pillow there. And I tried it, and literally, like, I pulled one out of the bag, and I let it... it's one of those self-inflating ones, so it's got the foam inside. You have to unscrew the tube and, like, leave it to inflate for 5 minutes. So I unscrewed the tube, I threw it on the shelf, and I walked around the store. And then I came back about 10 minutes later and closed it off, and I was like, oh, that's pretty nice. And I was sitting there, and I was, like, snuggling up with it in the middle of the aisle, and this old couple was just looking at me like I had 3 heads. It was great. But anyway, and this is my backup pillow, which I know is tried and true, so I may bring that as a backup just where I am testing gear. I am one of those people that kind of do need a pillow. I don't sleep well without one, I know. Shame on me. But anyway, I'm really hoping that $4 pillow works out because it was amazing. But that's pretty much it for my sleep system. So why don't I bounce it back to you, Ben, and why don't you go over some of the gear you're going to be taking?
Okay, so this I'm a little bit lighter on, I guess. Trying to make sure nothing falls here. We have the phones and the camera gear, so power is going to be a bit of an issue. So I have a solar panel folds out. I believe Robert has the identical one. We both picked them up on Amazon sales. So if these work out good, these are going to be reviewed for sure. If these work out good, I'm going to be super excited.
Can I spill the beans a little bit on this, Ben?
Sure.
So I've used this the last 2 weekends that I taught the motorcycle course for charging my phone while I'm on the lot. They work amazing.
Perfect.
So
I'm excited.
We'll get more into it. But preliminary was this worked amazing. I was charging I was charging one phone and my battery pack at the same time and had no problems. And that was on fast charge, like the lightning charge. So anyway, we'll come back to this at a later time.
So I have that, and I have a battery pack with a little solar panel. And this solar panel, even on their site, says that it basically takes 30 days to fully charge it. So doesn't add a ton, but it gives you a little boost. It's good for what it is. I've played with that one a bit. I don't think it has the 20,000 milliamps it swears it has, but that's neither here nor there. I have a water kit. This contains a water bottle and the Sawyer Mini parts. It also has a strap so I can carry it on my side. And my Sawyer Mini has been attached to my...
I gotta ask, Ben, is that the exact same water bottle pouch I have? Mine's an ADU, but is yours one Tigers?
No, this is a no-name brand. It's actually some kind of Chinese writing on the side.
Yeah, that's what mine was. Yours just looks a little taller than mine, but yeah, very similar. Nice.
I bought it to go on my Molly bag. It's a similar color. It works well. It seems to be very tough material. I like it. And like I said, I have one of these hydration bags. I haven't tried it yet. It was at Canadian Tire on discount over the winter, clearance sale, and it has the top that opens up, which I think is awesome, and it's going to make Robert super jealous.
I'm already very envious of it, and I've been trying to find one.
So if anyone knows where you can get a good one, Robert is really interested in hearing about it. Dear buddy, I just helped you out.
Awesome. I much appreciate it. I always like a plug. I will shamelessly ask for gear. I have no shame.
Yeah, our second name, if this one fails, is going to be Begging for Bushcraft Gear with Ben and Robert.
Help me survive in the woods 2.0.
We've already tried it with a hot tent, and nobody has bit. I was really disappointed with that. I've got the saw. I've got a Mora companion knife. It's their 125th year of anniversary edition. I won this on Facebook. It cost me nothing. It's awesome.
Best price.
Best knife for the dollar you can ever get. Cannot beat it. Did I tell you I paid nothing for it? So, and it's a good knife. I have this. This is the Serrate Oak Timer Splinter, I think they call it. It's a carving knife. It's coming with me. I haven't weighed this. Robert has a list of my gear and how much it weighs, I believe.
I do. I do not have the privilege of having my gear weighed, but if you give me 2 seconds while you're talking, I will get that list up
this
here.
This is not on. Yeah, so some of that stuff I'm taking this what do they call it? UCO lantern. I think a lot of people will be familiar with these. Honestly, my favorite part about this is you light it, you hang it off the end of your hammock, and when you get up to pee in the middle of the night, you can find your hammock.
But half the fun is staggering back.
Don't lose your hammock in the middle of the night. It's really, really not fun.
I could see that.
It's just a prediction. I don't know myself.
See, I'm surprised you get out of your hammock to go pee. Okay, that was just a bad joke. I apologize.
You don't need to let everyone know. Doesn't seem right when you don't.
Now, sorry, I'm going to mention this just because. I have camped with people that claimed that, and I apologize to anybody with a weak stomach, it's kind of gross, but not kind of gross. They pee in a bottle and keep it with them in their sleeping blanket to retain warmth. Have you heard of this trick? Because I thought they were absolutely nuts, and then I've heard it from multiple people.
I've definitely heard of this trick. I've definitely not tried it. Not only because I personally find it a little gross, but I do not think I could successfully get it all in the bottle and the cover on without wasting it completely over myself and regretting every moment of it. The other one I've heard of, and this one I have tried, and is to lean to one side, pulling everything back, and hang yourself outside of your hammock and relieve yourself. and then just roll back in. This is doable.
I think I'd just get up, honestly. That's what
Well,
I've always done.
I don't know.
I have
I
your
don't
list
want
up
to sound
there
like
if you
I'm
want.
bragging, but I could do it.
I got your list ready there, Ben. I'm going to flash it up there if you're good with it. I'm not exposing anything that you don't want anyone to see, I assume.
You deleted my social insurance number, my driver's license.
Well, no. I mean, I thought that was part of it. Your MasterCard
Oh,
number, Visa, birth
oh,
certificate.
my credit card numbers are on there too, if anyone needs them.
All right. Let's see if I can transition this. There we go. Are you seeing what you need to there, Ben?
Yeah. So
Okay.
you just got a list of the weights and stuff. I've actually done an actual weight on mine. I don't know if I think it has updated. So this is a live thing. As I update it, Robert gets notified, really.
Yep.
It's coming in now with no food and camera gear at just shy of 30 pounds. So the other thing that adds to some of this weight, and there's things I could do, like there's 4 or 5 carabiners that I could take off I don't need, and odds and ends, is my cooking kit. Now, that's a pot, the wood reburner stove, a cup with a little carabiner on it, just because I think it's cool. And some fire lighting things, like some ferro rods and some sharpeners. And just because I like to brag about my awesome cool gear that I bought myself for Christmas. Yeah.
Self Christmas presents are the best. Let's not lie.
You know, we bought them for each other, so essentially. But titanium fork, knife, and spoon, never really been tried. Kind of excited to see if it's good. It is super light, but I am not 100% convinced that the 7 or 8 gram weight savings over buying steel ones from the dollar store is overly worth it, but it's cool. Yeah.
Oh, where's mine? I actually left it out to show you because I'm so proud of my spork. That's the only piece of eating utensil I bring with me into the woods. Everything else I make. This is just my best little buddy, and we were talking about it, and you said putting it in boiling water and it would flippy floppy. This one has served me well thus far. Now, saying that, I fully expect to accidentally drop it in a fire or something on this trip out.
I have a similar one. I also have a spork that is titanium, and it's massive. Not long, but just big, and it's got a bottle opener on it and stuff like that, so that's kind of cool. We're not taking bottles, though, I don't think, so I don't need it.
No, nothing like that. I mean, we'll get back to my stuff. Now, a question did come up. Matthew Barkhouse. Ben Robert, benefits of blankets versus sleeping bag or vice sleeping bag. Do you want to go first on this, or you want me to tackle it first?
So blankets are quilts, as a lot of people like to say. Generally, they're boxed at the bottom so you can get your feet in, but when you're laying on a sleeping bag, anything that you've crushed, the insulation that's crushed, really isn't giving you any true insulation anymore. So you lose that, but you are taking that in with you. Now, there's a couple of hybrid sleeping bags you can buy where it's a synthetic base and a down top. There's a little bit of an advantage to that. It's basically a weight savings thing. We're both taking sleeping bags, I believe.
I'm also taking a wool blanket with me, but I use it as it's always been my under protection, and I kind of do a triple fold, so there's 2 layers of it under me and 1 layer over top of my whole sleep system, just for added warmth in my eyes.
So the advantage of the quilts is generally weight savings. Other than that, there's not a huge one. The advantage to me of the sleeping bag is if you move around a lot, it's not going to come off you. Now, and this is a change for me, and one of the sleeping bags I used to take, it's sitting like 2 feet away. I bought because the zipper only went down 2/3 of the way, so it to me it's essentially like a quilt, and it was too small when I bought it to go all the way around me, so I only ever used it as a quilt. Now I fit in it a little bit better, so I could use it as a full sleeping bag. But I do like the ability to zip up, and I do find it does offer some protection because the air does get kind of trapped in there, even if you lose the the convection option on the bottom. Does that answer your question there, Mr. Barkhouse?
And for my 2 cents on it, I'm kind of I'm a 50-50 split. I like a sleeping bag for all the benefits that Ben said. I dislike a sleeping bag because being a bigger guy, and I'm sure you can appreciate this from your past, Ben, you do
Oh yeah.
feel a little trapped in the sleeping bag. You can get very tightly in there and have a very hard time even trying to roll over. As with a quilt, you got a lot more freedom of movement, but like Ben said, you don't get necessarily that layer of air trapped in with you because it's more apt to have a small spot where it'll open and let your heat out and stuff like that. But I've only used a quilt once or twice camping. Personally, myself, I've always gone with a sleeping bag, and I've always just kind of put up with the whole having a hard time moving around in it. But once I settle down, I generally don't move a whole lot, so it's not a problem to me. But I know with my wife, she does move around a fair bit when she sleeps, and she may zip it up and all be good. And then by the next morning, it's already busted open and she's half hanging out of it and everything else.
So, and just because we're sort of on the subject, if you're in a hammock and you're trying to get yourself into a sleeping bag and you're trying to get the thing zipped up and you got your two ankles just like pinned to the ground and you got your shoulders pinned and you got your midsection up as high as you can and you're reaching back with one arm to try and get the zipper up because it's half underneath you. And then that thing sort of gets constrictive. You can actually go through a little bit of panic. I don't know if anyone's experienced this, but I definitely have.
I
Where
have.
where you're twisting and turning and trying to move in positions that you're not really meant to, and you're supporting yourself on a very flimsy piece of material that's moving around, and you get a leg cramp or something, and it's kind of terrifying. It really is. Where just a quilt, you just kind of tuck it underneath you, and you're kind of okay. So there's that restriction, like exactly what you're talking about. I've been there, and it can be bad, and it doesn't really matter your size. If it's a tight sleeping bag, or you're trying to save space by getting a small sleeping bag you can fit into, then that's a risk you really do have trying to get into it. Where on the ground, it's easy, right? So everything's solid. You can make sure it's off to the side. You're crawling into the hammock. Everything's twisting and turning. It can be quite the adventure.
Adventure is light way of putting it. Just to tell a small story, there is pictures somewhere. Christiane might have them. We were down camping, and I was in a sleeping bag in the hammock, and I had the bug net zipped up. And I can't remember what I was trying to do. Maybe trying to get out or something like that, or maybe even just fish to get the net open. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, somehow I ended up flipping completely upside down, so I was suspended face down in the netting with the sleeping bag completely bound around me, and that's where I was stuck. I was just like, so this, if there was no one else here, this is how I would die. Like, you know what I mean? And of course, the kid poked fun at me and took pictures and laughed and poked, and it was great for a while. But there is pictures. I'll see if I can track them down, and I will show them. Like, I don't get embarrassed. I couldn't care less. Learn from my mistakes. But that was my great. I no longer sleep with a sleeping bag done up all the way because of this. So I usually leave it only zipped up to about midway. So if I have to, I can at least get my arms out and I can fight my way out. Because this was a mummy bag and it was like right up to my neck and it was done up and I was just like, yep, if somebody wasn't here, this is literally how I would die. Like something would come along and eat my face. So, but yeah, that's the great hammock story of. I can't even remember when that was. Probably 5-6 years ago now.
I didn't have the exact same experience, but I have flipped over in a hammock, and I know someone else flipped over in one of ours, and it's surprising how well those screens can hold.
You are right. I expected just to come straight out of it into the ground, and not a chance.
Well, I mean, I was well over 300 pounds, and when my hammock rolled, I really thought that thin mesh was just going to let go, and I was going to end up on the ground, and now I got a ruined. And no, it held, and there's no sign of damage. I've been using it for years since. No issues. So it's not the hammock I'm taking this time, simply because I'm playing with a different system. But my old hammock is still in awesome shape, and I will continue to use it in the future. It's just this one I have came on a good deal, and I just want to play with other options. Because that's what happens when you become crazy. So yeah, so I think we've gone through most of my gear. We don't need to go in too much detail. We've shown my stoves and stuff before. Um, I am taking along with my cup a single plate. This is a dollar store special. This thing is almost weightless. I do not know. Yeah, it does fall.
It doesn't
It's
stay suspended. It doesn't
I'll
defy
check.
gravity.
I wanted to make sure, right? So I don't really count this towards my weight. I know that there is grams to it, but I wouldn't be able to weigh it with my luggage scale. I would have to get my food scale out and try and put it on, and it would be grams. So
I believe your
yeah. So
significant other has made a statement there, Ben. If you want to check the comments, buddy.
oh, am I in trouble?
No, nope, you're good. I'm just gonna stay away from it.
I don't know if I can see all the comments.
Would you like me to read it for you?
Sure.
So, she says, have you talked about blankets with a foot box? Like our mummy style ones, best of both worlds to me. Feels like a blanket, but my feet always stayed covered and warm.
Yeah, and that's the tent one that I mentioned. It's only 2 feet away from me, so I will grab it.
Fair enough.
We found these a few years back, and like I said, when we first bought them, they're rated for 20 degrees Fahrenheit, so that's what?
That's minus.
Come
I'm
on,
trying to
smart
think.
people.
I'm trying to think. So minus 7 degrees Celsius, minus seven,
Something like
10,
that.
something like that.
We found these to be very narrow. If you're a slightly bigger person, they are narrow. But like my wife said, they are fairly thick. They're really warm, and the zipper only goes down about 2/3 of the way. So the bottom section becomes a foot box, and it's really good because you get in the hammock, you lay down, you push your feet in there, and you just pull it up around you and you poke it in around the sides, just like most people have the top quilt. So this was our top quilt for years, and on colder trips, this is often my go-to. But this time, and I mean, this is a good debate that we could have easily have. I definitely have it with myself. I mean, I could take this, which is not compressible at all, or I can take this, which is about half the size. But now, because I'm worried about it, I'm taking this. So, am I saving any room? I don't know.
Are you saving any weight? I guess is the more important question.
Well, I could weigh the two and make that determination. And here's something. Have you tried this? Because this works for me. Sometimes when I go, I don't take all my stuff sacks. So I have, because like the bottom of my pack has a section that's the sleeping bag section. Sometimes I just take the valise that it comes with, take that off, throw it in there, and it just fills that space. And you can stuff 4 or 5 things in there. Where in these, they sort of have to stay in somewhat of a shape, and they don't compress as nice. If you're trying to get more stuff in one bag, that's often an option. The other option or help is just grab a garbage bag, place it in the space, push it out, seal it up, and then zip it up and let it reinflate sort of in there.
Oh, okay. I get what you're saying with that one. I've done it with sleeping bags. If I was using like very similar to my other backpack I pulled up there, not the new one I just got, but my old one where it's just kind of like two big compartments. If I don't
Yeah.
have little compartments where I could stuff stuff in, I have taken like and just shoved stuff to the bottom and compressed it down and jammed a whole bunch of stuff on top of it and things like that. But that's about as far as I've ever gone to it. Just kind of
That's
let
fine.
it inflate out more against my back, I guess, just so it would give me that cushioning, but still kind of form fit, especially if I want to be very quiet in the woods, like if I'm off hunting. If I'm going to go out hunting and camping in the woods at the same time, I try to make everything in my bag basically compress against each other so when you walk, you don't make any sound. There's no jiggling or banging or anything like that. And that's about the only time I'd really run into that with me.
Yeah. Yes, it's similar to the system I've used in the past. And I may end up going to that yet if I want to. But right now, that 70-liter pack, I think it's 70 plus 10 actually. It's a big pack, but it's kind of slim in its own way. It's got lots of room for what I got in there so far. I mean, right now it fills everything I have fills this desktop, but it's all fitting in there well. We didn't mention I got a first aid kit. You said you're taking one.
I'm taking a small one. I do have my pill kit here with me. I always do take a pill kit, and this has a lot of the basic things that you would need in the woods, like allergy pills, Benadryl. I'm trying to think what else is in there. That's reactive, Benadryl, cold pills. Something that most people probably wouldn't have access to, but I do have with me. This is more for if I'm going like deep wilderness. I do have a little morphine in here. It's not hydromorph for anybody that's wondering, but it is like an advanced painkiller. I will also take Tylenol and probably something like Imodium and a stool softener or something like that, depending on how long you're going. And that's just for more comfort in the woods.
Yeah. Mine contains very little in the way of medical, like drugs, mainly just Band-Aids and such.
And my bag's probably half the size of yours. This slips into the bottom of it, and on the top, I would have like two triangle bandages, a handful of like the blister pack bandages, as I call them, generally
Yeah.
some sort of disinfecting ointment, and a needle and thread,
And
or
mine's similar
needle and floss, more
Band-Aids.
specifically.
Some of these like bunion things. There's a survival blanket shoved in there because I have access to quite a few of those. Hand sanitizer, spare sets of matches, dental floss. Dental floss I find quite useful. It's really strong for its weight and size.
Well, that's why I have a little shoved in my first aid kit. I've actually, I don't know if it shows up on camera or not. You can tell me. Can you see that there, Ben? There's a scar on my wrist.
That's funny. I have one on my wrist.
That was my. I don't know if people can see it there or not. Anyway, there's a small scar. You see the tail end of it right there. That was from a Deep Woods exhibition, and I actually ended up sewing that one up myself. So that's where
Huh?
floss and needle came into play. And I think I froze your screen. Just hold on there, Ben. There you go. Yeah. So anyway, that was one of those things. I did not do the best job, and as soon as I got out, I had it medically looked at, and I highly recommend that to anyone. Now, the other big thing I actually drag in my first aid kit, or I have started as since having this little incident, was super glue, because I've learned that is actually a very good makeshift suture.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and it's way easier to do than try and sew yourself shut, because I don't know if anybody's thought this far ahead when they say, oh, yeah, I could sew myself up. You have to push through your own skin with a needle to be able to do the sutures. And if you have no sort of anesthetic, it's really uncomfortable. Like, I did it out of absolute necessity because it was pretty gnarly when it actually popped out. Like, you could see some freaky things in there. So I really just kind of threw a couple in it just to keep it closed, and I wrapped it and I hightailed my butt out of there. But yeah, super glue, same kind of thing. You can actually pinch the skin, glue it shut, bandage it up good, brace the arm, and you will get the same effect with a significant lessening of pain. So
I've been told it was the original intent for that particular adhesive, which is kind of a neat thing. I don't know if that's true or not, but
you know what? For what it's worth, and if it's a lie to me, it's a lie to you. When I had that looked at and fixed, that's what they told me in the hospital. They said use super glue. It half the pain, all the benefits, and you don't really have to know what you're doing to put super glue on. As where with sutures, you can make things worse if you're not that good with it. I lucked out, worked out fine. But if you screw up, you go too deep or something like that, especially in a thin spot like your wrist, you can make things really bad for yourself later on.
yeah. I have a scar, but mine was from the doctor getting extra skin to fix my hand from a motorcycle accident.
Well, that's not good.
No, it's really stupid. It's stupid how it happened, and it's a funny story, but it's not bushcraft related, so we don't need to talk about it right now.
Now we'll talk about that around the fire.
Yes,
So, was there any other gear you had? We kind of digressed there a little bit,
I
but
do have some gloves. I have all the stuff for my fishing kit. I just don't have it packed yet. It is going to be in a pill case. I didn't have weights, so I picked them up at the dollar store, and that's why it's not packed.
okay.
Um, for the most part, I mean, other than food, I think I've covered all my gear. Water purification, we got some light stuff, we got first aid. I got this coil of paracord. This is the fire stuff from Canadian Tire. Maybe we'll play with this.
Yeah, I picked some up too, but if you're bringing it, I'm not going to bring mine. I'll just bring straight paracord.
Yeah, I got a couple here. Um, play with a few things. I don't know. Yeah, we can't really make traps or anything in the woods. We can make them. We can't leave them set up. We can't catch anything really. I don't
Exactly.
think. We may play with just different ways to set up because that's something I haven't done as much as I'd like. Um, I'm gonna get that Barkhouse fellow one of these days to show me. He's got a rabbit trick for setting snares that sounds interesting, but I'm not quite sure I fully understood it. So I'm gonna get him to show me.
Okay,
I
fair
think it's
enough.
90 degrees to the way you'd expect to, and it catches more rabbits.
Okay, once you figure it out, you let me know. I'd be interested in now as myself. Um, so I'll only go over the stuff that's opposite from, or not opposite, I guess, in addition to what Ben already said, because a lot of mine is somewhat repeat. Like, I got the solar panel. We already went over that. I got my battery bank.
Yep.
My cook kit, which consists of, I think it's 2 pots in there, but I also have Schmiga, whatever the hell those great big,
Shemag.
yeah, that
Yeah.
thing, Shemag or whatever, and that's just to keep it from banging around because I do take this hunting with me quite a bit. But I also like one of those. For anybody that's out there, what's your opinion on those? I get laughed at a lot because mine is bright orange and I look like a, and I mean this with absolutely no disrespect to anyone. Everybody tells me I look like a hippie with it on, especially when I get the big beard. And I think that's great because I think that's the perfect look to go for. But anyway, yeah, what's your guys' thoughts on them? I really like mine because it has multiple purposes. You can use it as an arm sling in a pinch, wrap it around your head for sun cover. You can make a kind of fanny pack out of it, use it for carrying woods. Like I find the uses absolutely unlimited for one. So yeah,
How big is yours?
uh, fairly fairly big. Like mine is. I'm trying to think. It's probably like 2 feet by 2 feet, or maybe a little bigger. Maybe 30 by
I
30.
I have a orange handkerchief, and it's a fair size, but it seems to me like the Shemags or whatever they're called are significantly bigger.
Yeah, I have a bandana, and this
Yeah.
thing is probably like 4 bandanas put together.
Okay, yeah. No,
So,
yeah. I
um,
think it's a cool idea. I've never played with it. I've seen them like on the Battle Box videos and all that stuff, and I've often thought that's something I could be interested in. But
I never had any interest in one until Melissa bought a couple, and I was like, you know what? I see a ton of stuff online about these. I'm gonna take one camping, and I took it and fell in love with it. Absolutely love it now. Um, so getting back on track, I got my Sawyer Mini, fresh to me. I've always been one of the guys that boils stuff, so this is going to be new to me. Ben is going to give me a crash course on these things. Bug spray, which is dollar store bug spray without DEET. So I'm interested to see if this works at all. I may dig up some deep woods off to take with us as well, just in case we need it, because the black flies have been a little bit of atrocious.
yeah,
But this
I,
was a dirt cheap thing that I
we
found at the store that I thought I'd try out.
I've kind of been shocked at the price of fly dope lately. Like go into the grocery store, it's like 12, $15 for a can. I seem to remember it was not that much a few years ago.
$7
Uh,
and you get a big can of it.
yeah, so that's bugged me. And we bought some of the dollar store stuff and used it over the weekend, and I did find it worked. So
Was it the same brand as that?
it looks like the same
Okay.
can. So maybe it's good. I don't know. We'll try it.
Find out.
I,
Well, we will tell you guys next week. Maybe.
it,
If we make it back.
it is on my list to pick up some myself. That's one of the things for the shopping trip tomorrow. So.
And that's likewise to me. I got a few last minute things. Anyway, digressed again. I'm taking the axe. Ben had the saw. I got the axe. And this is just a small lineman's axe. It's only, I think it's 24 inch. So, maybe 30 inch. Hard to say. My water kit is my canteen, which is just the old plastic military style canteen, and it comes with the stainless steel canteen cup inside with lid. And a lot of times I'll just take this in the wood as a day pack. believe it or not, which I don't know how safe that is, but I have done it in the past. Um, but yeah, that's hopefully I will be filling that with my new Sawyer Mini and have potable water. And other than that, I am taking the butane stove, which Ben has. You got the twig stove, right? Just to be
Yes.
sure about this. So I have the butane stove, and this is one that I am going to be reviewing for my other channel. I'm going to stop plugging the name because that's not the point. Because I bought this for $10, and I have used it. I have tested it before I took it with us, but I'm not going to say too much on that. But it tested well enough that I have faith in bringing it with us. Let's go with that, shall we? Now, the only part I don't have a whole lot of faith in is this. You might be able to see that. It's got a little bit of a self-igniter there. It works good, but I see that probably being the weak point in all of it, to be honest with you. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, that's not bad. I carry a ferrocerium rod, so I'm not too worried about it. I know I could get it going if I needed to. Other than that, I have my first aid kit like Ben. I have my fire kit, much like Ben. And my spork, my almighty spork, which I've already showed and I'm quite proud of. And the only other item might be taking, and Ben and I were talking about this just before we came on, is I do have what I call my trench shovel, because that's what it came from the reserves, and that's what they called it, was a trench shovel.
Yeah.
But if I can get the... If anybody's wondering, this is a bag I made for it. It used to be the pant leg off one of my pants. So...
Use for it.
So they do make lots of these out in the market, and I think we've talked about this maybe a little bit before in the past. Now I can't remember, 12 episodes in. This I have found is a little better quality than the ones I've been finding, like from Walmart, Crappy Tire, and stuff like that. This is a heavy steel, as where the rest of them are kind of like an alloy, and they bend really easy. I've never tried to use the saw or the descaler or any of that crap on this, to be honest with you. I've only ever used it as a shovel. So... anyway, that's in the maybe pile. We were talking about it. We had a few ideas why we may want it. Now leave that to your all imagination. I'm sure anybody that's been in the woods can think of it. But yeah, I think that's it for me, minus my knives. And I'm still kind of deciding which one I want to take. I'm definitely going to take this one. This is my belt knife, which is a Normark. If anybody remembers that company. So it's a Normark. And Jamie Harris actually did the leather work on this. I think he's got his logo on the back there. So shout out to Jamie Harris. Done wonderful work on that. If you have a knife that needs some sheathing, if you will, be sure to give him a shout. He does excellent work, reasonable prices. And my other two, I'm debating between one of these, is I really like this knife. And you guys can all laugh at me if you want. This is just a Winchester dirt cheap Wally World Special or Canadian Tire Special or something like that. And the funny story behind this knife is, much like your Mora, this was free to me. I bought a four-wheeler, and this was in the toolbox, along with a bunch of other personal stuff from the guy that owned the four-wheeler before me. I bought it from a dealership. They just never cleaned it out. So his number was on there, and I called him, asked him if he wanted any of his stuff back, and he's like, man, you bought the four-wheeler, you can have the works of it, just throw out my personal papers. So that's the story of the knife. And then I have my Schrade knife, which I like the knife, I hate the handle. So it's got that really texturized handle on it, and if you're using it for any amount of time, it just really bites into your hand. So I like the knife, hate the handle. The other one is, it's a good all-around knife. It's just very large. You know what I mean? So that's a little bigger than I actually like for a knife, just for my personal preference. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a knife this size. Just for me, it's just a little... It fits nice in the hand, but it's just a little big for me.
So I have a similar Winchester one. It's got a deeper blade, but shorter.
Mm-hmm. Does it have
it's got
a gut hook on the end of it?
No.
Oh, okay, I was going to say, I almost have the mate of this sitting over there on my shelf. And it's the same knife, deeper, shorter blade, but it has a gut hook on the end of it.
I picked it up. I like the look of it, so I picked it up at Walmart. I think I only paid $20 for it. It's on my list of things I may take. Sometimes I go in, and the handle is a bit dry, so I oiled it. But other than that, I haven't done a thing to it. It seems to be a nice one.
What I love about this knife is that of all the knives I own, and I own
Yeah.
some expensive knives and some cheap knives, this sucker holds the best edge. Believe it or not, the steel in this is amazing. I don't know what it is, and it's got a nice sharp spine, so you can use it for a ferrocerium rod. Um, but the edge retention on this is just stupidly good. Like the Schrade over there, it's probably the worst one I have, and it's probably one of the more expensive knives I have. Like
Yeah.
it goes dull all the time. This thing here, like I hammered off stuff. It was a free knife, so I'm like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of this, and it slowly became one of my favorite knives just for how tough it is. Like it's just a stupidly good knife that just shouldn't be.
So this brings me back to a conversation I had with my father years ago. He was a hunting guide, so he spent a lot of time playing with knives and stuff. And he pointed out that some of his favorite knives weren't the more expensive ones, and it was because you end up with two ends on some of the cheaper knives. Some of the cheaper ones are made of a softer metal, which are easier to sharpen. So he said, if you want to keep a good edge on it, you put an edge on it, you do a bit of work. You're touching it up constantly, but it's easy to keep on. The other ones are extremely hard. He said, hard to get an edge on, but once you do, it lasts almost forever.
Well, that's it.
But
It took me like 3 hours to sharpen this thing. It took me forever. I was to the point where I'm like, oh, this thing's junk. I'm just gonna throw it away. But now that I got the edge on it, man, you
Yeah.
can't kill it.
No, that's the problem. Is if you do dull it, good luck putting an edge back on it in the woods.
Oh yeah, that ain't happening. That's why I always take a second knife.
And that was my father's point. He'd much rather have a soft knife when you're gutting or cleaning an animal in the middle of the woods, because at least then you can get an edge on it.
Yep.
Where if you've got a really hard edge and it does go dull, now you're going to have to basically finish that animal with a dull knife, because good luck
And that
trying
gets
to
dangerous. Very dangerous,
Yeah.
very quick. And I guess the last thing, you mentioned it, but I'll show it. I do have one of these quick sharpeners and a little pocket whetstone. I know I can feel the eyes rolling in the back of somebody's head just by looking at this thing, but for what it is, it puts a really quick edge on if you just need it to cut. Now, when I get home, I'd use my whetstones or like the Lansky sharpening set and fix it. But this puts a nice quick edge on a knife, and I mean it works great. I have one of these in a Lansky version as well, which is over there on my shelf. But I just take this one because I bought it for like $8 10 years ago, and it still works stupidly good.
I have a small diamond stone
Mm-hmm.
and a ceramic rod that fellow bushcrafter picked up from me. So that's a nice little set. This is, although it's a fine one, does have a bit more bite, and this puts a beautiful polish on it. But good luck trying to get an edge.
Yeah, it's just like if you were doing something, like you said, do a little bit of work and then polish your edge. Do a little bit of work and polish your edge, and you would keep a razor sharp knife with that, or to finish an edge that you put on from the other one.
Yeah. So the diamond seems to be a bit harder and does work, but really even with this one, because it is so fine, if you've really nicked up your knife, you're coming home. You're taking it home.
Now, something I do gotta get is a new puck for my axe, because I lost mine in the woods the last time I was out, and I once again can feel the eyes rolling back in people's heads. If you can see some of the nasty nicks that's in my...
Oh man.
Yeah, right? It's
And
still sharp. It's still sharp, but
the axe.
it still cuts relatively well. But I lost my puck, and I haven't been able... Like, what that was I was splitting wood, and there's two really bad nicks, one at the bottom, one in, that everybody's seen in the center there. And I was splitting it on a rock, and that was both nicks. And like on the same trip, I took the puck out to sharpen the axe, set it down, went on to do something else, packed all my stuff up, and left. And the puck was not there when I went back to look for it.
Oh no.
So, but it still cuts. It's still good. Don't let the nicks deter you. I have used it several times since then with no problems.
I got a small axe that I have at the cabin, and I was using it to split wood the other day, and it went through the wood and into a rock, and there's quite a little nick in it. So I went looking for my file, and I couldn't find it. So I know the feeling.
Luke Lahead, my man. Oh, hey, Luke. All right, I read it wrong. So Luke Lahead's a buddy of mine. We played paintball together. Is actually how we met. And he said, "My man loved these podcasts." And for some reason, I read it as his man loved the podcasts, and I could not wrap my head around it. Luke is married, has 2 kids, all that good stuff, and it
You don't
confused me
judge
for
there,
a minute.
buddy.
He just confused me for a second. It took a second. I was like, Luke and I need to have a conversation outside the podcast to see if I can get this figured out. But we're good. Thanks for the
Roger.
shout out, Luke. Good to have you on here. I hope you've listened to some previous ones of Ben and I yakking away. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me. Of course, I got a toiletries bag, which you guys don't really need to see. It's basically just toothbrush, toothpaste, toilet paper, and all that good stuff. A little bit of soap. A pair of gloves, much like what Ben had there. Mine are just, good old fashioned. I call them chainsaw gloves because I used to love them for working on the chainsaw, but they're just a plain leather glove. And
Mine are the high flex, so it's got like a rubberized front and cotton
yes,
back.
and I know a lot of people that are very fond of those. I really don't like gloves in general, and these are about the only ones I can stand on my hands. So that's the only reason I go with them.
I'm not a big glove guy either, but we are planning on doing a few crafts, a few things back there, and there may be a point where it's best to protect our hands. So
Oh, for sure. Like even if you're going back for any amount of time, and I'm going to give this out as my free 2 cents tip of the day. If you're going in the woods for any amount of time, and that's really like 3 days plus, honestly, you'd be surprised how the little nicks and stuff on your hands add up to the point where if you're gone for like say a week, week and a half, if you don't take good care of your hands, all those little nicks add up to the point where you can barely use your fingertips. Like, and it doesn't take much. They're all tiny things that just add up over time, over time, over time. Knife slips, you just nick it a tiny bit, no big deal. Splinter in your finger, you pull it out, no big deal. Working with rocks, you might, skin something, no big deal. But over time, it adds up, adds up, adds up. To I've literally been in the woods after 11 days, and I found it hard to like grip things because my fingers had gotten so bad. Uh,
well, and we have to drive bikes out of here, right?
and
Like keep that in mind.
Exactly, and that's the main point is a pair of gloves can really go a long way to make things a lot more pleasant for you over the long run or even the short run because it only takes like one bad slip and it can ruin your day, ruin your camping trip. Like it doesn't have to be a cut. It could just be like you go to throw it. Well, it might be a cut. One that I had is I was clearing brush out of the way and it was like soft wood about this big, and I went to throw it and I didn't notice a little limb sticking out, and it completely gouged across the bottom of my hand. Wouldn't happen if I had a good pair of gloves. Or simple as if I had a puck sharpening this, and you would be like sharpening it and talking to somebody, and you might hit the inside of your thumb. Hopefully you don't, because you're doing it right. But let's be real here. Everybody has made mistakes. I've done it, and I've done that, and it's not a big cut at the time. But if you're out in the woods for any amount of time, like you get a high risk for infection. Like that can get irritated, and it'll just cause you a lot of discomfort for no reason.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, take care of our hands, take care of our feet. I mean, this is the thing with the motorcycle, and this is what comes to mind when you time it this, is we need our whole bodies to drive those things properly, right? You
Exactly.
gotta have your 2 feet working, you gotta have your 2 hands working, and you really can't be all tense, or I can't be. I find that if I'm all tense on a bike, I just don't have the control I want.
And we do kind of have the other added insecurity or unfortunate aspect of where we're going. We have no cell phone reception. There's none. Like it runs out 15 minutes down the road from where we pull in one direction and 40 minutes down the road in the other direction. Like we are literally in the middle of no man's land with no contact from the outside. On that note, as a security precaution, my wife knows where we're going to be, and if we don't check back in at a certain time on Sunday, she will be toddling out to see if she can track us down because she has been to the location where we are going. So she
Oh,
knows
good.
how to get there and can at least send help if something goes wrong. So we do have a safety net, and for anybody that's going out in the woods that it's new to it and is listening to this, if you want a good tip, always have a safety net, because it's always the person that says, "Oh, that'll never happen to me," that it happens to. Is it safe
How
to say
good
that?
your insurance?
What's that?
How good's your insurance?
My insurance is great. My insurance is great. Uh,
That's cool.
no, it's terrible. There's nothing there. But no, and Ben works with ground search and rescue, and you'll see it all the time. People just didn't tell someone where they were going, and they probably would have been found a lot sooner if they had something like that.
And we're not planning on doing a lot of hiking or going. We're not going to be super far from our bikes. 20-minute walk, I think you said it
Yeah,
was.
about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, depending on where we park. I think we're going to park probably a few minutes away so we're not so visible.
Yeah.
So that'll add a little walk. But it's fairly good walking, all that stuff. But still, stuff can happen. Like a spot where we got to go down in where we're going, there's going to be a waterfall. And if we choose to go down to the bottom of it where I've camped before, which we'll figure out when we get there because maybe it's going to be too wet. Maybe we sleep at the top. It might be cold down there because we're going to have all that water. But I mean, it's a fairly good bank that we got to go down. It's not out of the realm of possibilities that you slip and you sprain an ankle. You know what I mean? Like even a sprained ankle trying to drive back on a motorcycle may be impossible if it's your left ankle. You know what I mean? You can't shift. Can't shift. You can't go.
That's right.
So
Yeah. So we have to be careful. We have to be cognizant of what we're doing and be prepared. And especially, like you said, if we get back to the road and you can't call for help, we still need to get 20 minutes away or 15 minutes away before we can get a signal.
exactly. So
And I've drove injured before, and I'm sure you have too.
too many times.
Yeah,
Too many times. That's
it's
why we
not
have backup plans now.
this is not the most fun. But you know, we're going to take care. We're going to pay attention to what we're doing to do, and we're hoping to get back safe. And we're going to look out for each other while we're out there. So I'm pretty excited. I've thought of a couple of things that I hadn't packed yet that I would have, and I'm sure I would have gotten to it. But now that we've talked about it, I'm going to definitely go up, and I'm going to pack some wet naps,
Mm-hmm.
baby wipes, whatever you want to call them.
I
They're
packed
awesome.
baby wipes. They're in my first aid kit.
And I'm going to pack some more toilet paper because, yes, I need that.
Exactly. Pack more toilet paper because, yes, that man has been without toilet paper and he knows. It's bad when all you can find is a pine cone. Let's just say that.
Piece of moss. Moss is not bad. It's actually quite soothing.
Moss is fine, but like I said, it's bad when all you can find is a pine cone. And I've been in that situation where you're just like, well, now what do I do?
Some things do not come clean enough with enough soap and more water.
I have shirts that no longer have sleeves. I have come back with one sock. But anyway, that's a whole other topic for another podcast.
I've heard a lot of people cutting pockets out for it too. But
Never thought of that. That's actually a brilliant idea.
our next podcast will be ways to go to the bathroom without toilet paper.
You know what? Funny enough, it would probably make a decent podcast because it is one of the more often questions I get when people know I go to the woods any fair amount. So maybe in the future we will do something funny and silly like that.
There's a camping book called How to Shit in the Woods. That's the title.
But I mean, it's actually, that's what I mean. It's a legit topic. If you can get your mind around the potty humor, excuse the pun, but it's a legitimate topic, especially for women. Like, women could have their own podcast on this because they have whole other business that's hard to deal with in the woods. You know what I mean? So it's maybe if we can.
Because I have 3 daughters and a wife. There is a device you can buy it at any of the outdoor stores, but it's a cup with a spout off of it that goes up against the woman and she can pee standing up.
Have they ever tried this?
Yes.
Okay, we'll talk later. We will talk later.
I'm also convinced that my daughters can pee standing up. Period. So
well, most kids can. They have weird, knacky quirks about them. That's for sure. But no, the thing I can't remember what the name of it is, but we have one here too, and she has questions, and hopefully your wife has answers. So
yeah, here's a great idea. Let's just get them together, and then we don't have to be the middle people.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. We'll just get them on here. We'll go out and do whatever. We should do a group camping trip sometime, and we'll have some wobbly
Definitely.
pops and campfire stories.
The offer's always open here for you guys to come out to the cabin.
And
We
maybe we'll
just
take
got
you up on that. We'll
we
try
just
and
got a paddle. I don't know if you've been following my YouTube channel or my Facebook,
yeah.
but we got a stand-up paddle. We were playing with that the weekend. My niece fell in the water. It was hilarious, and it wasn't my fault. I swear.
That had to be cold this time of year.
The guy came by. I don't know, again, Fahrenheit to Celsius and all that, but a guy came by with the sonar
Hmm.
and the depth finder, and it registers the degrees, and he said it was 57 degrees.
Well, that's
About
above freezing.
yeah,
Not
yeah.
by much, but it's above freezing.
Hence the boats floated and just didn't sit on the ice.
Well, I mean, it's quite a bit above freezing. What'd you say, 57?
57 degrees.
So that's 13 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. So yeah, we were out there. She did the stand-up paddle quite fine, and then I stood up in my kayak, just being a show-off, and then she wanted to try it on an identical kayak. So we're out there, and there's a video of it. Her mother put it online, and I paddle by her, and I give her a little tap with my paddle, and I'm past her. She's stabilized, and then she falls in, and she screams and blames it all on me. But I'm standing the whole time. She falls in. She has to swim in. So
Well,
I would have been fine. I was in a wetsuit. I would have been fine.
a wetsuit. There you go.
It's cheating.
That is cheating. Actually, at 13 degrees, I'm kind of curious. I have a little thermometer. I'm going to bring it with me. And I wonder how cold the water is there. It's always bitter cold, but I'm wondering how bitter cold it is.
You know, this is probably not the time to do it, but it is kind of the time to do it. I've always wanted to do this. I've seen how it's done. I know the prospect of how to do it is to bring a large tarp in, get a whole bunch of saplings and bend over and make the little dome.
Mm-hmm.
Get the rocks all hot and make a sauna.
It's called Sweat Lodge.
Sweat Lodge, yeah?
Yep. It's actually, we have. We'll talk about that later. I don't want to offend anybody because this is a work story, and I have to be very careful about what I bring work-related onto our podcast. As you know, my job has some classified information there, so much like your own. So we'll talk off the podcast, and we'll have a few
mine
stories
has
there.
no relevance to bushcrafting.
Neither does mine. Neither does mine. Let's leave it at that.
Okay.
But was there anything else you want to say tonight, Ben? I'm looking around. I don't have anything extra here that I really needed to bring up. My flashlight, I guess, but people have seen that before. It's just
No,
a
I
nice.
think we're good. We've exceeded our hours, so you kind of want to shut it down anyways, I guess.
Well, we're getting around that time. People are starting to get bored. I noticed a lot of people have logged off. Shame on you people. But yeah, so let's wrap it up there. Our next podcast will be after the Great Camping Adventure. So maybe that'll be the name for the next podcast. Episode 13? The Great Camping Adventure. Oh, lucky 13. This is shaping up to be good. But yeah.
We'll be broadcasting you live from the Truro Hospital.
Thumbs up, man. Shouldn't joke. Don't want to jinx it. We're going to have a good time. It's going to be great weather. We're going to accomplish a ton. We are going to have kind of an itinerary of things we wanted to at least take a crack at. Well, not really an itinerary, a list, I guess is a more appropriate word. A list of things we're going to take a crack at. We both feel time could be a little... We're either going to have tons of it or none of it, I guess is how it's going to come out to. So we will try and do what we can. We do have the suggestions you guys wanted us to do. We will do as many of them as we can get within reason. We don't want to just half attempt something. So what we do decide to do, we're actually going to do it to the full capability of our abilities, I guess, is the only way to say that. So, I mean, like the fishing thing, we're not just going to take 2 minutes, try to fish, and say, oh, well, we had no luck. We're actually going to take a little bit of time, try to do some fishing, or maybe try and set it up in such a way we can be doing other things at the same time, or split responsibilities. We will figure out what's going to work once we get on location, because there's still a lot of factors playing into that, because with the 30 to 40 mils of rain we're going to get in that area tomorrow, I have no idea how that's going to swell the waterfall. So it may be absolutely raging to the point where we got to walk down the river for a significant amount of time before we can even attempt fishing, which is going to take us further away from our base camp. Like, we won't know nothing until we get into it. Yeah, Marcus, shoot me a message later, there, buddy. You showed interest in potentially coming out with us, so if you can, we will chat. So yeah, that was the only bite I got on somebody actually coming out with us, and I haven't followed up with him yet. So I will let you know.
Yeah, I hope someone comes.
Well, that many more people to go missing in Truro Hospital. Yeah. All right, guys, that's it for me tonight. Thanks for joining us. We were a little long-winded. Well, not really. We're only at an hour and 15. That's about our average. But yeah, definitely check back next week. The Great Camping Adventure comes to a close this weekend, or maybe it's just a beginning. Maybe you never know. But we will chat about it. I think the next couple weeks, with luck, we will have tons of material that we'll be able to talk about. And I really hope you guys come back, to anybody listening to this, and join us live and ask questions. Because I imagine it's going to be information overload for us trying to get it picked apart and talk about everything we want to talk about. So the easiest way to go over it is going to be to have you guys ask us questions and we'll answer it. It's anything you guys want to know, like, start thinking of them now and hit us up next week, which is June the 12th. And we will try to be on right at 8:30 like we were tonight and just start shooting questions at us. And I think that's going to be our best way to go about it, Ben. What about you?
Yeah, and Sunday we'll post if we get it alive.
Yes, look at the Facebook channel for hopefully a picture of us with both our thumbs up. That is going to be the goal. All 4 thumbs coming out. Maybe only, 18 fingers or something, but...
Well, I'm missing part of mine already.
But we're going to hope that the same amount of appendages going in come out. How about we end with that?
Okay, perfect. Okay, good night, everyone. See you next week, hopefully.
Have a good night.